man. We are recording. For everybody, this is my special guest, Chad Cooper. I did not know your last name until a couple of months ago, to be honest with you. You're listed as Chad Rugby League on my phone. But
so wait a minute. So basically, when I went to pick you up at the airport, from now until then, you didn't know my last name?
No.
Jeez, bro.
Anyways.
Donut. Drove you around LA.
Exactly. So this is my buddy Chad. He lives in Los Angeles, and he is a massive MLR supporter. He's always been the guy that when I'm negative as hell about it, he'll be like, no, man, don't be that way. And that's just because he loves his domestic competition, very much so. And I thought, what better person to come on and talk a little bit about MLR this year and how we have both felt about it. A bit of yin and yang on the conversation. But I guess I'll just go ahead and start out, man. How do you feel about the season so far?
Well, Keith, first of all, I just want to say thank you for all you do for rugby in this country, whether it's URC, whether it's MLR, whether it's Six Nations. No, you're not a big fan, but at least you just do cover it a little bit. It's always good to have people that, that are covering the sport, and you do a great job, man. I just really appreciate all you do.
Thanks, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
For sure. And so far this season, I think it's been a really good season so far. It's been really good for me because I live in LA and was a Guillotines fan for a few years and got to see some live rugby. I mean, nothing compares to live rugby. I watch a lot of rugby union and a lot of rugby league. I can watch it in my garage while I'm having a cigar. Maybe I could watch it on the TV, but nothing compares to being in a stadium watching the game. So that's pretty good, man. So far, I think the season's been pretty good. The word that I would like to use for MLR this year would be parity. I think there's been a lot of parity. There's been a lot of upsets. A lot of people got knocked off. So in that regard, I think it's been really good. We've seen a couple people, couple teams that have moved within the pole position. San Diego's kind of gone down a little bit. Chicago's gone up a little bit. So what are your thoughts?
So you bring up parity, and it was one of my biggest complaints last year, and I was very vocal about it, how like a third of the league couldn't even win 25% of their games. And it's still kind of sort of like that, but I think with the two expansion teams, it's expected with Miami and Carolina. I do think there is like an upper echelon of teams, and it's, we'll probably get to that a little bit later, but there's definitely like 3 or 4 teams that really are like head and shoulders above everyone else, but they've also been beaten too. And not just by each other, they've been beaten by lower teams. And you didn't have that a year ago. We had San Diego went. Did they go undefeated?
No.
Or was it?
They won like 12 or 10 or 12 in a row or something.
I want to say there was like somebody who only lost like one game last year. It might have been New England, maybe, but it was, you didn't see. You saw last year, yeah, there were like 2 or 3 teams that barely lost at all, and then everyone else lost a crap ton of games. And I guess you're going to see that when you have 3 teams that are that massively dominant. And we see that this year, but it's not in the same way that it was last year. Like, there's no undefeated teams. I mean, New England can be beaten, Houston can be beaten, San Diego has been beaten multiple times. Seattle has been beaten. So I would agree. Yeah, you see a bit more parity. It's not as obvious now going forward that it's going to be lopsided victories every game. So it hasn't been too bad. I would say, like I said, my Super Brew picks tell the story. Some of them have been very bad. Both of us have been bad at times, but
I was good this last week, though.
I did absolutely horribly with my last week. So with that being said, we will move on to the next one, which are what have been the biggest surprises for you and what have been the biggest disappointments for you so far?
Biggest surprises. When you look at that Chicago Hounds roster, I mean, dude, they're stacked. I mean, the Butcher, Nate Osberger.
Yeah.
They've got so many. They have so many people. Charlie Abel, from the Giltinis, Billy Meeks, back of the year. I mean, they're just totally stacked. Nathan Brown's the new guy that came out of Notre Dame, who's really done super well.
Oh wow! Wow.
Yeah, and I see him having a huge future for USA Rugby. Those are the kind of people we need to get a lot, help the game. So Chicago Hounds, I'm just surprised that it took them that long to start clicking. There we go. We talked about parity. They got beat by Old Glory this past weekend at home.
Yeah.
I never, in my right mind, would have ever imagined that was going to happen. But we saw Old Glory in the semifinals last year. Just a lot of parity. Old Glory is kind of one of those like mid-level teams that can knock somebody off.
Yeah.
So that I've been surprised about. What else? San Diego. You know what? I expected them to do a lot better. I think they've had some injuries. I do think that at the end of the day, Danny Lee, the coach, I think when it really comes to push or shove, they'll start clicking towards the end. They have a final at home. That's something to really look forward to. Some of my that's kind of like my disappointments.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, for who I thought has done a pretty good job. You can't go without Nola. Nola's done pretty well this year.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Hot, and then they cooled down. I did pick them in 3 points to beat Seattle this past weekend.
Yeah.
So I look at a game. I look at a game like that, and I think, at the gold mine, you got to win, man. You know what I mean? There's too much pressure there, and Nola definitely did it. They got the job done. Seattle's always going to be Seattle. I expect them to be one of the top 4 in the end. So Nola's done pretty well. I've been pretty surprised by them. New England, but with like McDonald, and I think Patras is still out. No potty.
That's something. We'll have to talk about that later. But I think these are all great ones. I would agree. We probably have the same disappointment in San Diego. I thought they were going to be a much more dominant team from the outset, and they've struggled at times. I have an even bigger disappointment, and it's something that your team is sort of going through, but they're not really an expansion team. Your original team never went through it, and Carolina is going through it. It's how bad some of these expansion teams can be. The Dallas Jackals in year 1 were an absolute horror show. I don't have Carolina winning a single game at all this year. Not a single game. It's just too much. I just don't see it. That's probably been my biggest disappointment, is how bad the expansion teams have been. Well, at least one of them has been this year.
Yeah.
But biggest shock, probably San Diego. Also not followed far behind, New England. I thought with as weak as the East was looking, that they were going to be 9-1, 8-2. And no, it's, they're still up there, but they've struggled a bit, where you didn't typically think it would happen in the past.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then the big one is Dallas. Wow.
Yeah.
Because of you, I watched every game last year, and I was just this year. I've just been amazed, like how well they've done. Is that the Nate Osborne effect? I don't know.
Yeah, I think Kuka Cavalieri, the head coach, they had apparently the guy that was general managing the team, who used to be the general manager of Rugby ATL, was kind of hindering a lot of things that they wanted to do. And now that he's not there, they're able to kind of run how they want. We'll kind of get into that kind of later in the video, but we're 10 games in. Mac Mason currently is the leading scorer in the league. As far as points overall, tries, surprisingly, Dewey Kutsia of the Dallas Jackals now has 10 tries in 10 games. who are your, if Petros is in fact injured, who would be, in your opinion, an MVP candidate this year?
Ooh, that's a good one. Kutsia has been amazing, man.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with him. He's done such a great job. Yeah, I mean, I think he has been spectacular and made a big difference. I would probably go with him at this point.
Yeah, I would agree. Just a solid kid. Hopefully he gets called up for Canada this summer. That's something that I'm hoping for him very much so. So, yeah, we both are in agreement there. And then last, but certainly not least, who do you think wins it all? Who is going to be lifting up the Shield this year?
I'm going to take San Diego over Chicago in the final.
Whoa. Really?
The Ghetto, man. Gets. I mean, if he could stay healthy, I mean, you know what? It's like when David Beckham came to MLS, right, in 2007.
He got a second wind.
Well, they knew that they had to play hard, you know, and a lot of these guys, they're going to be playing, and you know, Christian Poitevin's been out for a while. That's kind of worrisome. He's been pretty good, but I think a lot of these guys, they know they're going to get some screen time. They're going to be all over the place. You know, they want to look good, and to win at home, I'm still going to stick San Diego. I think they're going to pull it around in the end. I think they're going to right the ship.
I think with Giteau, though, something I've realized is he is no longer a starter.
Right.
He's the guy you bring in at like the 55th or 60th minute, and that's fine. He's still able to do it that well at that age. I don't know if I necessarily agree with San Diego, Chicago. I really, outside of that New England game, Houston has looked really, really good.
Right.
And I think this is Houston's year to make a run at it. I don't know if they win, though. I still think that the East is New England's to lose. But if Jason Petros is out, Chicago's going to make the final. Chicago is going to make the final, no question. I guess one last thing, and it's not on our list.
Yeah.
Obviously, the playoff format changed for this year.
Yes.
It used to only be 3 teams that qualify in each conference. Now it is 4 teams, which I think is a much better. I wish we kind of had more teams to kind of make it not so easy to qualify. But with that, I guess with that layout, with that playoff structure, do you think that the 4th ranked team playing the 1 ranked team could potentially be an upset in both conferences?
I think anything can happen. I mean, anybody can knock off one of those top teams like an Old Glory. I think without a doubt. I mean, if they was it Jason Robertson? I mean, right there, that might be my MVP, man. He's been great.
They have not played Danny Tuisatala hardly at all. And he's here. I think they bring him in. It does step them up quite a bit. I had made it. I haven't posted the video yet, but you'll see it soon. After this weekend, I kind of don't know if Dallas is going to make it. That was a game that was a supposed to win game, and discipline is what killed them in the end. And then obviously the accurate boot of one Mr. Jordan Chait coming in and saving the day. But I will say this. I see a lot of where Chicago was last year in LA right now. Right. But when they get it together, they're going to be a monster. LA is going to be, because people want to play there. It's Los Angeles. Everybody wants to play there. So that's kind of how I feel about the whole situation.
Yeah. Do you think that could happen? Do you think the 4 seed could be the 1st seed?
I don't know if they can do it this. I don't think LA can do it this year because I still think Utah and Dallas are slightly just kind of a step ahead, but not by much. But I definitely think that the way things are lining up there with the guys that they've got brought in, and there's going to be more guys coming in. You know, it's just a matter of time. It was a late move. I'll admit it. I was all over the internet thinking the league was completely lying because we hadn't heard anything, and it was like 6 weeks before the season started.
Yeah,
and then eventually they announced it. I had to go back online to find out. I didn't realize people thought that the Carolina was going to be called like the Wolves or something like that. They were making up like jerseys and everything, and it was like, no, they're just Anthem Carolina. And yeah, one other thing I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
Have you listened to the play-by-play commentators for Miami?
Yes, and you know what? In fact, I emailed Miami. If anybody's listening to this, you'll get my email. I think they're great, dude. I think they did a great job. I mean, anytime you're trying to like describe something in a second language, it could always be kind of tough. But I don't know, man. I'm too much of a homer for MLR.
I think I get why they use those guys because obviously it's South Florida. It's a huge Hispanic community there. Yeah. But I remember watching a game and hearing the commentator say touchdown 4 times in the game. Right. 4 times. And it was just like, guys, get somebody that at least knows the terminology. But I do get it. Like I said, that's why I brought you on here because you're always a lot more positive about this whole thing than I am. I'm a little bit more critical of it at times.
Yeah. But I emailed the team 2 weeks ago to let them know that I think that they're doing a good job.
Look at that. Always the optimist on here. Yes. And if you guys go back and watch some of my review videos, you can tell who it is because it's the guys that have like the thickest accents that don't sound Aussie, English, or Kiwi or South African.
Yeah. I love what Miami's brought to MLR, man. It's great.
I like the jerseys. I like their jerseys. I'm not gonna lie. I like those jerseys. Do you like LA's logo and jersey? No.
I like the colors. The logo's grown on me. I think I've got maybe like 5 or 6 hats.
I mean, would you say it's better than the Giltinis?
I mean, I'm a kind of a logo freak, and at the end of the day, you have a very special amount of time to connect. I would have put a rugby ball in there. So when people see it, you know, you see Dodgers, you see the Lakers, you see the ball in the Lakers. Yeah. You know what I mean? The Kings, put a rugby ball in it so people understand what it means, you know?
Yeah, yeah. But, yeah, man, it's been great chit-chatting with you. We will do this later on in the season, definitely, as we get ready for the elimination rounds of Major League Rugby and seeing if who I think makes it in or you think makes it in will make it. But appreciate you coming on here, man.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Keith. Really appreciate you.